morning, everybody from Overcast SoCal. This is Brian at Sitch Radio, and today we are going to catch up on a few things that have been going on in the world of podcasting. First and foremost, I am not at Podcast Movement 2022 in Dallas. However, Linz Florin, my co-host of Feed Drops, is, so he's been keeping me abreast of all the situations. And I'm assuming what I'm getting ready to talk about next was such a non-event. He didn't even bring it up yesterday. And I'm still trying to process feelings. So I'm just going to talk about what happened. Apparently, Ben Shapiro showed up, which led Podcast Movement to issue an apology for the harm his presence caused. And a pretty funny video was put out by, it has moved on. However, he stood in the booth, greeted a few people, took a few pics, and left, is what the video depicts. There was no confrontations. There was no animosity. Again, what this video depicted. But it led Podcast Movement to issue an apology via Twitter, who has not reached out to the news agency that put the video together. And I just find it interesting. You know, we all are into podcasting because of, you know, for the most part, it's the last bastion of free speech. And not every podcast I like, not every podcast I agree with. As it is in life, there are people on this planet that I don't care for. There are people on this planet that I don't agree with. And the way I deal with it is not giving them any attention. I, move on or swipe left, as Pacho of the Field Op likes to say. And, that's just the way I roll my life. And, you can't have sweet without bitter. You can't have hot without cold. And I think that's a beautiful thing about the podcasting space is it's a platform where two people can come together and have a conversation or a healthy debate and or get crazy pissed at each other and scream and yell. But he does have a podcast. His company sponsored a booth, and Podcast Movement went on to say, they've made mistakes in the past, and selling a booth to this company was a mistake. And again, I don't know how I feel about it. Part of me is like, if this isn't going to be an environment where people can have healthy discussion and debate, do I want to be there? I went to the last Podcast Movement Evolutions here in LA, and there were people there I didn't agree with, but I didn't use my proximity to them as a platform to go spout my opinion. I greeted people cordially, even though I didn't agree with them. And, I moved on. And that's just the way I choose to live my life. And I'm not telling anybody how to live their life, but it's kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. And I don't know. I'm still trying to process this, but let's move on to some good news. What's going on in podcasting? Blubrry has partnered with Rev, and Rev is a company that does audio transcription. You upload your audio file and they transcribe it for you. They have different price points for accuracy. And the cool thing is, if you are a Blubrry customer, you get it free for 3 months. Now, why is this important? A couple of reasons. If your website has a blog functionality, you can post each episode as a blog post. And if transcripts are there, spelled out, copied and pasted, not a download link, it can help with SEO because the search engines have more to scrub and more to categorize that blog post and return it in search results. And more importantly, those that would rather read than listen can read your show instead of listen to the audio. There is cost incurred, and depending on your budget, it might be something that's unaffordable at this point for your show, or it might be something that is affordable for your show. But take a peek. Rev is not the only company out there. We here at Stitch Radio use Descript for transcribing our audio, but Descript is so much more. You can upload your audio, you can upload your video, you can edit video and audio just by deleting sentences and words, and it takes the audio and video out. It's a pretty cool tool for fast, quick things, especially on a mobile device. So keep that in mind. But I think it's cool that podcast hosting companies are stepping up and integrating with these companies to allow their creators to go above and beyond and create additional content to the audio file and help with growth. So congrats to Blubrry for doing that. We're going to move on to value for value. How to do value for value and earn Bitcoin from your podcast from Pod News. There's a link in the show notes that talks about how to get your show up to snuff and get it on the Lightning Network so you can earn if people choose to depart with their funds to your wallet. So the value for value system is the listeners are in control. If somebody finds value with this show, they can in-app go down, hit the little lightning bolt, and say, I want to give Brian 100 sats for every minute that I listen. And when they push play, that ticker starts. And every minute, a microtransaction occurs, transferring 100 Satoshis from their wallet to mine, which is kind of cool. On the back end of mine, I can split that and say, I want to give 20% to the producer of what comes in. There's a lot of cool functionality with Web3. And it's still in its infancy. There's a lot of work to do. Just 6 months ago, it was a pain in the butt to get your show onto the Lightning Network. However, Fountain.fm makes it extremely easy. Go there, search for your show, claim your show, verify the email, and boof, they create a non-custodial wallet for you, and you're now on the Lightning Network. And whether your listeners are using Fountain or any other RSS 2.0 podcast player, they will see your shows on the Lightning Network and can transact with you and send you boostograms, et cetera, et cetera. But there's a really good article from Pod News. Link is in the show notes below. And you might have noticed, seen, and or heard, but podcasts now have a home on YouTube. Now, when I first heard they were doing that, I set the URL to open every morning when I open my browser. And one morning I saw it. I was like, okay, cool. And I click on it, or I go to that tab, and I notice that all the big news agencies are up top, which, yes, they have podcasts for their news. However, it was a little disheartening. I understand supporting indie podcasters in that front, can be difficult. YouTube wants to keep people on YouTube. They want to give them engaging options, what their algorithm says based on your search behavior, etc., on YouTube. However, it was a little lacking, in my opinion. But then the next day, it was gone. It was throwing, this page is not available error at me. And a couple weeks later, it appeared again for a few days, and then it went away. But it is here to stay now. So if I'm not mistaken, the link to YouTube podcast is youtube.com/podcast. Take a peek at it. I didn't really find much search functionality in it. However, it's, I'm sure, going to mature over the next 12 months and offer more value to podcasters like myself and or others. Linktree. If you use Linktree, and it's Linktree, and I misspelled that in the show notes. The URL is correct. If you are a Linktree user and have a podcast, there's some coolness coming. But before we get to that, I want to describe what Linktree is for those that don't know. Linktree is a web-based service to where you can build in mobile first a menu of what you want people to choose from. Now, why is this important? Platforms like Twitter, and Instagram only allow you to put one URL in your bio. So if that one URL is Linktree, when people click on it, this page opens up with other choices. For example, to your website, to your newsletter, to your whatever. Linktree has integrated RSS with it. So if you're a podcaster, now their documentation says it only works for RSS 2.0 feeds. However, my feed is not yet 2.0 compliant, but it did load the last 6 shows because I chose 6 shows, and people can push play and it redirects them to a page where they can listen to that episode, which is pretty cool. Now, if your RSS feed is 2.0 compliant, it will play in Linktree, and along the bottom are icons for the popular podcast playing apps, iTunes, Google, and Spotify. I were the only ones I saw. I don't know if there are more, and or if they're going to, add more, or if you have any control over that, I should say. So it was a checkbox, but that checkbox was not present on my Linktree account. And I'm assuming it's due to the fact that my RSS is still 1.0 compliant, not 2.0 compliant. However, there's still some value in that. People can get to an exact episode instead of being redirected to your show on a player or on your website. So there are other services like Linktree. I am not sure if they do the same, have done the same. However, it's pretty cool. Linktree is a freemium model, so there is a free account you can sign up for. It's branded. You don't have as much control as a paid user would. However, give it a try if you're not using such a service. And I want to share an apology. I have not been uploading episodes to the newsletter since I've taken the show 100% on my shoulders. Joey was helping produce it, and things were much smoother and seamless. However, he's working on a couple big projects right now. So I am doing all the behind the scenes stuff for this and the iPodcast at 2.0 show. However, I uploaded or I caught up on the IPT 2.0 show yesterday. I do not believe I'm going to add the backlog for this show, but this show will appear there today. So, with all of that having been said, I am going to bid you a good day. It is Friday. Rock your day, make the most of it, enjoy your weekend, and we will see you next week.